Happy November! Today we are going to talk about gratefulness. I know that you all are firing up for those big Thanksgiving dinners. I know my family is having that discussion as well, but I really want us to focus on what we're grateful for. What a year, you all. So much has happened. So much is different from when we first began this journey January 1st. I'm sure many of you would agree. So as we think about gratefulness, let's talk about counting our blessings. Let's talk about those things, and not the superficial ones, but that we're really grateful for. I, for one, am really grateful that my immediate family has not been impacted by COVID, but my heart goes out to the many families who lost total generations, you all, this year. There are a lot of people who are not faring so well, and I'm just grateful that they have not thrown in the towel. I'm grateful that they have actually continued to pray, that they're seeking help, that they are again surrounded by loved ones, that they're having conversations about what this holiday season may be bringing up for them. When we talk about gratefulness, there's other things too that we want to consider. We want to consider the opportunities that COVID may have presented for you to pay off debt. I know student loans were deferred. There's a lot of small businesses that popped up to help cover what some of our major corporations were covering. So there's been so much, not just the pain, but so much that we can celebrate. And oftentimes it's easy to forget that. So when we have our moments of silence, I want you to consider doing it differently. That this year we have a moment of silence for all that did go right, for all that was accomplished in the midst. Because that's sometimes where God does his best work, you all. When we let him use us, when we allow him to be strong in our weakness. So I want to encourage you to do something. I want to encourage you to write down all the blessings that you and your loved ones have received in 2021. And this Thanksgiving, as you carve your turkey, your ham, your lamb, whatever it may be, that you actually give thanks for those matters of the heart, for those things that you have rose above. It's going to be important that we mirror this for our children. It's going to be important that we mirror this for generations to come, because this year will indeed go down in history. So what do we want to be remembered for? I, for one, don't want us to just be remembered for COVID. Mentally, that can be very depressing and anxiety provoking. So let's not forget to highlight those accomplishments, highlight the wonderful signs and wonders that we've seen this year, highlight those things that we have overcome. So again, I encourage you to think in that moment of silence, what am I truly grateful for? Here at Remnanttv, we're grateful for you. We're grateful for our viewers who tune in every month, you all, to hear what we have to say about God, to hear what we have to say about mental health, to hear what we have to say about laughter and it being good for the soul. Holistic care is so important. So just know that we are grateful for all that you do every month to support us. And we hope that you continue on with us, because this journey would be nothing without you. Just want to end by saying we're so grateful. God bless.
I get told on a real regular basis, don't you know tattoos are a sin? And I'll ask people, really? Where does it say that? And they say, oh, somewhere in the Bible. Where? Most of the time they don't know. Or somebody will say, don't you know tattoos are a sin? And my favorite thing to say is, really? What's a sin? And people normally don't have a real clear definition of what's a sin. They're like, well, a sin is something that's wrong. And I'm like, oh, really? So tattoos are a sin? And they're like, oh, yeah, tattoos are a sin. And I say, well, is smoking a sin? Oh, smoking is a sin. And I was like, really? I said, what about dancing or getting drunk? I said, oh, yes, these are sins. These are sins. And I said, what does the word sin mean? And more often than not, somebody will say it means to do wrong. When the root word for sin, harmatano, there we go, harmatano, actually means to miss the mark, to wander off the path. We believe its root word was actually an archery term. So when somebody would miss the target, they would say, that's a sin. So missing the target is a sin. And 2,000 years ago in the context where it said, these are sins, it wasn't talking about what we've turned it into. People hear something as a sin and we turn it into something we can conk people over the head with, or we give them the impression that if they commit a sin, a trap door opens and they go straight to hell. And sin is not what sends us to hell. And I'll talk about that more in a minute. And I'm speaking to believers, and I'm understanding that this is going to reach mainly people who call themselves a believer, people who call themselves a Christian. And I'm asking you, where did Jesus go? In his comings and going, where did he go? Who did he seek out? Was it the righteous? Was it the people who were doing good? Was it the religious leaders? Or was it people who needed help? Was it people who were missing the mark? People who had wandered astray? And when he came across those people, was it, don't do that, don't do that, stop doing that? Or was it more, love God, love others? And it's recorded every now and then he would throw in, go and sin no more. He would say, go and don't miss the mark if you can help it anymore. Do the best that you can to stay on the path. It was the religious leaders who were telling everybody, you're doing wrong, you're sinning, you're going to hell. Jesus came and he looked at people's heart. He didn't look at what they were doing. He didn't look at the circumstance. He didn't even look at the actions that they were committing. He looked at their heart. Paul records in Romans, while we were still sinners, Christ died for us. While we were still missing the mark, while we had still veered off the path, Christ came and died for us. I'm convinced when I look at the nature of God, when I look at the Bible, when I look at Genesis to Revelation, when I look at the nature of God, I'm convinced that when we go to heaven, there'll be people there with tattoos. Some of you may not be ready to hear this, but there'll be people there who are liars. There'll be people there who have the habit of getting drunk. Because sin is not what sends you straight to hell. It's not this action. It's not this committing one thing that's going to send you straight there. People who miss the mark will make it there because what they did do was trust him. What they did do was believe him. What they did do was believe in him. As Christians, as believers, as Christ followers, we're missing the mark when we're not kind. We're missing the mark when we're not loving. We're missing the mark when we're not humble. So technically, according to this definition of sinning, missing the mark, we're sinning it when we're not showing the world Jesus by our actions. We're not showing the world the love that he told us to share. I'm Johnny D, a voice in the wild.
If you or someone you know would like to be on the show or just a part of Remnant TV, or you'd like to become a vision supporter of the ministry and donate, we would love to hear from you and we would love to connect. Please visit us at www.theremnanttv.com. Listen, there is a remnant of God's people that is rising up all over the earth, and we believe that you are a part of it. We'll see you soon.